Hello, dear friends. This is Mediumship and Attunement at 11 p.m. Kardec Radio, nourishing our souls with one more study on a book that redefines the way we understand the mediumship exactly. And we are here together studying about this to live a better life, okay? Today we're going to be studying chapter 12. Chapter 12 is titled Studying Good and Evil. Okay? Give me 1 second, please. Thank you for your patience, dear friends. Here we are. We are here. Just had to connect the charger because somewhat the battery is running out. But welcome to Kardec Radio. We are here to nourish our souls together. And I see you were given time to enter our classroom so we can together learn with the instructor, Emmanuel, right? Emmanuel in this chapter 12 talks about studying good and evil. You may be asking, what is it to do with mediumship? Mediumship is neutral, right? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that phenomenon happens. As we learned in the previous chapter, we connect with other minds. As we think, as we feel. But if we don't discern, we will be making connections that are not positive. That's what Emmanuel calls attunement. So throughout the book, he's training us to attune more wisely. In this message tonight, Studying Good and Evil, Emmanuel invites us to sharpen our understanding on it. If we want to know more, in the Spirit's book, we have more about good and evil. It's in chapter 1 of part 3, titled Natural or Divine Laws, and there's a subtitle, Good and Evil. It's in the same chapter that talks about the laws of conscience, laws of God being our conscience, question 621. It's the same chapter that talks about Jesus as being the guiding model of humanity, question and answer 625, and then 629 we have questions about good and evil onwards. First question that Kardec asks about morality, what is it? It's about doing the good to all, not only ourselves, because that's selfishness. It's in the law of God that we should do the good towards everybody. When the good only pertains, satisfies ourselves, it's selfishness. So we need to discern if what we're doing is good for others. Sometimes we have to say no, and that no benefits others. Sometimes we need to make an effort to join in and engage in the collective efforts. That is what we call the good. So if we read that part, we're going to understand that it's vital for us to discern. No wonder Humberto de Campos, Emmanuel, André Luiz, they call Spiritism the light of discernment. Spiritism is the light of discernment. But you and I, physically speaking, have a particular area in our brain that is vital to boost discernment. Prefrontal cortex. And I keep telling parents, boost your child's prefrontal cortex as early as possible. How do you do it? Your brain and my brain, they respond to stimulus, okay? I know some people say, oh, but at this age, that's how they behave. But when you are an educator, it's like a gardener. You take care of your plant. You take care of it. You don't allow the plant to grow wild and to mix up with the weed in whatever way they like. There are many parents who are like this. Many educators who are not good educators. They just allow them to grow freely. But that's not what is in God's order. Everything, it becomes discipline first and then spontaneity. This is a statement by Emmanuel and André Luiz. André Luiz states that in the book Evolution in Two Worlds. Spontaneity follows discipline. First it's discipline and then spontaneity. Anything that comes second nature first was formed due to an effort. So order is everything. We are living at a time on earth when people lost their sense of discipline and order. People become itchy when we say discipline or order. They're like almost lose their breath. And that's a sign on how far they are from the true order of the universe. Because when we hear the word discipline and order and we feel at ease, we then have that sense. And we're talking about discipline and order in the good. We're not talking about crazy, nasty order and discipline. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about true order, true discipline, which is the foundation of charity, as stated in chapter 2 of the book Action and Reaction by André Luiz. Order is the basis of charity, is the foundation of charity. So tonight, Emmanuel is going to calibrate ourselves in our mediumistic ability in a study on good and evil. He titles chapter 12, Studying Good and Evil. Are you ready? Welcome, friends. I'm always tempted to say hi because we want to have that feeling of a big classroom together, learning with the spirit mentors. Rihanna, welcome, friend. Keep up the good work, Rihanna. Carol Correia, big hug to you, my friend. Andrea Torres, Sol Souza, how are you? Mariana de Andrade, how are you, Mariana? Lívia Moraes, thank you, Lívia. Jailton, Aline is here with us. What a joy, Aline. Raquel Bakeshi, how are you? Joyce, dear friends, how are you? John the Rosa, welcome, friend. Nora Brasil, welcome. Sunshine, welcome, welcome. Leia Severo and others. If you're listening to this or watching on demand, a hug on you. Why a hug? Because Jesus was a hugging master. When we read the book Good News, we see he was often smiling and hugging and approach. Love. Love is love. Okay. Ready for Emmanuel? Visualize the classroom and the board. A beautiful whiteboard. And Emmanuel writing. Studying good and evil. He says, to become genuine interpreters of the good, it's not enough to give excuses to evil. It is imperative that we take care of the good in an absolute sense, relegating and take care of evil, relegating it to its passing condition in regards to the real triumph of the laws that govern us. Pause. What did he say? So many things, right? Let us just extract some more elements of it. He's saying, how often we justify evil? We see people in positions of power, and we think that though they are being wrong, they're excused because they're in positions of power. So they can. No, they can't. That's what we call abuse of power. No, they can't. They shouldn't. How often we see ourselves crossing that line of charity and giving excuses to ourselves. Tonight in our God at Home, we were reading a message by the Spirit Sister Sheila through Chico Xavier in a book that is yet to be fully translated into English. Ideal Espírita, that's the book. It has 100 messages. And amongst them there is one titled Alarming Signs. And Sister Sheila says there are 10 red signs of alarm indicating that we are a step away from entering obsession. And she outlines them. Amongst them, when we just talk ill about people. Mamma mia, we're in trouble, right? Because it's so common. Because we often say, I'm just saying it. We need to discipline ourselves more. Much more. And then he says here to us, evil is a passing thing. Passing, ephemeral, he says. Ephemeral condition of evil. Because at the end of the day, good is all there is. But good needs to expand like light to cover, to conquer darkness. If I stay here with my little light and don't expand because I'm shy, because of false modesty, I'm allowing that darkness to stay there. No wonder Jesus said, let your light shine. Why? Because we need to expand. Andre Lewis, in the book Evolution into Worlds, he said that we're in constant expansion in our consciousness, in our movements, vibratorily speaking. So, love is expansive in the sense it expands. But if we keep it encapsulated, it gets spoiled. We get sick. Spiritually, mentally, physically. So there is only one direction. Expansion. Selfishness is contraction. Pride is retention. That's why we need to expand. Everybody's capable. Everybody has the same right as I do. That's expansion in our conscience, in our actions, in our words, in our feelings, in our thoughts. Think about this. Pride is this, like selfishness, we retain it for ourselves. But that's against the law of God. The law of God is to expand. Vanity is to think that we are the only ones. So we put ourselves in a beautiful bubble of illusion, whereas everybody has the same capacity or even more. Thinking about this, Emmanuel continues, avoiding complex comments in our worship of simplicity, let us turn to nature. So now he's going to explain to us the story of good and evil by talking about nature. But let's observe before he says it, something he mentions here. Our worship regarding simplicity. Pause. Self-assessment. Let's feel the scripture. Simplicity. Emmanuel learned in millennia to be simple. Where are we in regards to our simplicity? What is simplicity? What is it to cultivate simplicity? Shall we? What is it? Simplicity in our daily lives. And he says worshiping. Why? Because simplicity is God's law. You know why many times we suffer? Because we want to complicate. Simple. Like what? Anxiety is that lack of simplicity. Yes, because we are afraid of the unknown, because we are not accepting the present. Let's be simple and accept just being. You know, many times in our relationships, we exchange anxiety vibrations. And then we feel like proving to one another that we're okay. But Jesus, you will read in the book, Jesus in the Home, and good news, how he dealt with it. Many times people searched for Jesus. They sought after him, willing to be proved about his greatness. He kept quiet. A lesson for us. Simple. There's nothing to prove. What are you going to prove? Does God enforce anything? Why will we? People don't understand, they don't understand, and so be it. We're not omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. And there are people who are constantly disrespecting people's boundaries and imposing themselves. But the religion I chose is the best. Why don't you choose it too? Why should they? If that does good to you, good for you. Even if it's Spiritism, I'm so sorry. But we can't impose on anybody. Chico, Xavier never did it. Jesus didn't either. He didn't create a religion per se. He never imposed himself onto anyone. So then we calm our anxieties down. Simplicity. That fine line between good and evil comes with great evidence when there is simplicity in our minds. He then says, take for example the living appeal of the spring. the water spring. How many times has water been treated to serve us at the table? From the spring to the clean jar, a difficult trajectory filled it with vicissitudes and trials. The harsh bed of stone and sand, the poisonous reptile saliva, the insult of large animals, the storm surge, the debris that were thrown at its interior. So he's telling us about the waters at the beginning of the spring and how many things happen to this water from its origins till it reaches our table when we sip water. How many things happen to that water? Yet, he says, however, the spring kept running unpretentiously, without delay in any consideration of the sarcasm in the path. She kept herself diligent and pure, surprising us by accepting the filter that clears its conditions, so that it ensures our society and comfort. So in spite of it all, water comes and serves us. Emmanuel is staying. And he says, as we have observed in the apparently childish lesson, not only the brook forgot the offenses that were precipitated to its face, but it moved, advanced, humbled itself to help, and infinitely pardoned, without immobilizing itself for a minute, because immobility would constitute adhering to a pool of dirt, in which, instead of serving, it would convert itself to a vehicle of corruption. This is why the Christian teaching of charity involves the complete forgetfulness of all evil. Stop for a minute. So back to the water. He's comparing, he's bringing that example, the metaphor of the water, the spring of water, and saying it forgot about the occurrences and kept itself diligent and pure, serving us, comforting us. What if the water stopped?